We now have the pleasure of being joined by the head coach of the Vermont men's lacrosse program. It's Chris Feifs. Coach, how are you doing on this Tuesday morning?
I'm doing great, Ethan. Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
Looking ahead to Saturday, it's a new season. It's 2023. How excited are you? How excited is your team? Just what is this time of year like for you guys?
Oh, very excited. Very excited. There's been a crazy long build up, it feels like, since September, working for this weekend to get ready for, obviously one of the best, most historic teams in college lacrosse. And so our guys are, chomping at the bit to, get down to Syracuse and get ready for the game.
Have you told them a little bit about how you guys played in the Dome just 2 years ago and kind of how that environment was?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys, were on that team and really enjoyed the experience. I mean, how could you not? You get goosebumps just walking in there. So I think for us, that initial shock and awe factor has worn off a little bit, I think for a lot of the guys, but we also have a really big freshman class, and this will be their first opportunity in the Dome and on top of my brand new staff. So I think we're all really excited to go back and obviously, hopefully the nerves, we can get the nerves out on Friday at practice, but it's going to be a big game, and we're really excited for the opportunity.
Flashing back to 2022, last season, you guys had a really successful year winning the America East Conference tournament and then getting into the NCAA tournament before eventually falling to Maryland. What was last year like for your program, and how do you take the momentum of where you got into this season?
Yeah, last year was really special, simply because, in that post-COVID era, being back to a little bit more of a sense of normalcy with how we, prepare and train and travel and all those types of things, and having the Ivy Leagues back and, the mix was awesome, with what they bring to the table. But honestly, what's really, prepared us for games like this one this weekend is honestly our initial relationship with Syracuse, and having scrimmaged them since 2018 and having the privilege to come down there and, play those guys. We've really gotten to see what, the high level teams do and how they play and how they operate, and really kind of set our sights on, how we go about our business, to try to be aligned with them and prepare for moments like this. So to win championships, you got to go through the best teams, and Syracuse itself has really prepared us for these moments.
Getting into kind of the X's and O's, you guys lost your three top goal scorers, Thomas McCovney, Michael McCormack, and Liam Limogus. How do you guys plan on trying to replace their scoring going into the season?
Yeah, I think with a lot of new faces on offense, especially, we really just have to do the little things well and be very fundamental, with sharing the ball and, doing the things that help make us, less one-dimensional. And those guys were amazing players and really laid the groundwork for where our program is now. And I think moving into the future, we're excited to, spread the distribution out a little bit amongst some of these new guys that we have, and hopefully that'll make us a little harder to defend. And again, going against a great team like Syracuse will be a great test for us to see if we're where we need to be. But we're really excited for the chance to show where we are.
Well, you can't put the ball in the back of the net if you don't win any faceoffs first. So a guy like Tommy Burke, having him at the faceoff X, what kind of advantage does he present for you guys?
Oh, a tremendous advantage in the sense that, any great faceoff guy is what you need to kind of feed the beast, so to speak, to get the offense the ball consistently and be able to dictate the pace of the game. Syracuse has great wing play and great faceoff guys, so it'll be a tough task if, we want to win faceoffs on Saturday. But Tommy is a great faceoff guy. He's really excited for the opportunity, and playing in the Dome again is like none other. And that moment is going to be something that he'll remember for the rest of his life. So we're excited to, go head to head.
Looking at the goaltenders, you guys lost your starting goaltender last year. You don't necessarily have to give us a starter, but how do you guys plan on replacing him in net and kind of like your defensive strategy going into the Dome this weekend?
Yeah, it's, as you said, it's impossible to replace, the guys that we've had, the previous two goalies who have been, tremendous goalies for Vermont. But we're excited about this new crop of guys that we have. And, we're excited about our new defensive coordinator and some new things that we're doing defensively to help support our new goalies and give them the shots that they can, save, and give them the shots that they want to see, playing to their strengths. Our last goalie was very athletic and very good out of the cage, and he had his strengths and weaknesses as well. So we kind of tailored the defense to him, and it'll be no different this time around. We're really trying to give shots that our guys can settle in early in the game and have a level of comfort against some really good shooters from Syracuse, and hopefully clear the ball, at a high level as well.
Going back to Burke, just how important is a face-off man to winning games, especially on the road? And with a guy like him who's been in the program for 4 years, this is your 7th year as head coach, so you guys have been tied at the hip for quite a while now. What is your guys' relationship like, and what kind of teammate has he been and evolved as over these 4 years?
Well, first of all, I think as a coach, you want to surround your players with coaches, that bring out the best in them. But I also, as a coach, want to surround myself with players that motivate me and help me bring out the best in myself. And Tommy's a guy who, not only is he a Dean's List student and an All-American faceoff guy, but he's got an incredible work ethic. And the reason why he is so good is because he is so dedicated at his craft. When a lot of guys are taking time in the off season, in the summer, and breaks from school, that's where he really makes his hay. And that's where he really continues to work extra hard so that he can close the gap on guys at some of maybe these more traditional schools. So Tommy Burke, for me, is a guy that motivates me to do my job every day and show up and have the consistency that you need an elite faceoff guy to have. And in terms of a teammate, I mean, the game kind of starts and ends with Tommy, and he's a guy that I could tell you all of our guys love having on our side, because he, allows us to, as I said, help dictate the pace of the game a little bit. But Tommy's not a finished product. He's got things to work on, and he's constantly trying to find ways to evolve and, be less one-dimensional. Because as I said, when you're going against really athletic teams like Syracuse on the wings of faceoffs, and they have great athletes at the faceoff X and, great faceoff coaches, you've got to be more than one-dimensional. You've got to have a couple of tricks up your sleeve. And Tommy, with 4 years in now, I think he's starting to develop some of those. But it's the first game of the year, so we'll see where he's at.
You talk about Tommy Burke evolving. It's your 7th year at Vermont. How has your kind of coaching style evolved throughout your tenure, especially now going into this year with a younger roster into training camp?
Great question. When you inherit a new program, you obviously inherit a full roster along with some recruiting classes that maybe the previous staff, brought in. And, there's a process of, feeling out and getting used to their strengths and weaknesses without having recruited them, and, also implementing kind of your culture that maybe they didn't sign up for. So early on in your career at a new school, I feel like it's a very day-to-day mentality of maximizing what you have and also implementing the changes in a way that doesn't completely disrupt, the fabric of the program that was there before you. Now that I'm 7 years in and I've had chances to kind of recruit all of my own recruits, I think I've been able to really focus more on, the X's and O's and less on the culture. The culture at this point is really kind of feeds itself from the seniors down. And if anything, my role has really changed within my program because I had a coaching staff for 6 years. And this offseason, I lost 3 coaches. One guy, now the offensive coordinator at Maryland, another guy's coaching full-time in the PLL, and then another volunteer got another collegiate job. And I obviously want to help those guys move up in the lacrosse coaching world. But now having 2 new coordinators has kind of shifted my role as the head coach from coaching the defense to now really overseeing both sides of the ball and helping at the faceoff X. So I've had to kind of go back to my early assistant days and start coaching the faceoffs again and learn some of those things. But I think in terms of my coaching style, it hasn't really changed. It's just my focus on a day-to-day basis has shifted a little bit. So, hopefully we can win a few draws. So I'm not a, complete failure.
I wouldn't say that in the slightest, Coach. When you look at this from a Syracuse perspective, and you guys are doing your preparation for the Orange, last time you guys played Syracuse, it was still the John Desko era. Now we're starting year 2 of Gary Gaydon. This is a team with a lot of roster turnover, not a lot of players from that 2021 team you guys faced. Is that hard to prepare for as you gear up for a season opener?
Great question. I think early in the season, teams are always still figuring themselves out. And I know last year they didn't have, Owen Hiltz. And I know that now they don't have Tucker Dordevic, for instance. And, they've lost some key pieces and they brought some new pieces in. And, I think Coach Gate having a year to settle in and, like I said, wrap his head around what he inherited and start to implement kind of his style and his culture, you're going to see a lot of growth there. You're going to see a lot of growth. You guys a Hall of Famer, arguably the best to ever play our game. And I think that gains a lot of traction, especially with new kids and new recruits. So I know that he's going to be, even more formidable this year than they were, last year. And I think anybody preparing for the first game of the season is probably focusing more on themselves. And that's what we've done, is just say, hey, what can we do to be the best version of ourselves and go out there and give Syracuse everything that they can handle. You obviously go back and watch old films and things of that nature, but that's only going to tell you so much. From year to year, teams shift their schemes and things. So if we go in there healthy and go in there with, a good game plan, we're going to let the chips fall where they may. And we know that whether we win or we lose, we've got a lot of battles in front of us. And this is just the first step towards, getting to play in May.
Looking at the game on Saturday, is there one or two things that you guys have to do to get the win inside the Dome?
Great question. There's a lot of things. They're a multi-dimensional threat, that's for sure, with so many offensive weapons and obviously a great transfer goalie, Will Mark, leading the country in save percentage last year. They're solid at both ends of the field and incredibly slick and incredibly athletic. For us, again, focusing on ourselves, I think we've got to just do the things that don't beat ourselves. We have to take care of the ball, to not let them play at the pace that they want to play. We obviously need to, have a good game plan with how to exploit some really athletic defenders, and a really good goalie. And then on the other side of the ball, I think we have to make sure we're buttoned up with, all of our slides and recoveries and things that they capitalize on. Syracuse is very good at capitalizing on the mistakes that you make. If you turn the ball over between the lines, they immediately go down and jam it down your throat and score on those opportunities. So again, if we can take care of the ball and we can be sound on both sides of the ball with how we, execute our schemes, I think we give ourselves the best chance. And after that, I think it's going to be about, who can really put their best foot forward.
That's Vermont head coach Chris Feifs here on the Ostrom Avenue podcast. Coach, thank you so much for your time and good luck on Saturday.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.